Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. It is a beautiful day outside. Yes, I am outside. I choose to record outside because it gives me, not to say that I don't have inspiration, but it allows me to appreciate, to stop and appreciate and the things the Creator has given us. Today we're going to talk about soul ties, the signs of an unhealthy soul tie, and what you can do to release a soul tie or get rid of a soul tie. And pretty much just a general knowledge-based show today, or broadcast today, talking about what a soul tie, what it truly is. I know a lot of you out there struggle with soul ties. Although no one chooses to speak on it, it is something that something that exists, and of course, for those of you who have the question, are soul ties spiritual? Yes, they are. Otherwise they wouldn't be considered as soul ties. The bonding of two souls and having them come together as one. Now, as we get into soul ties, I'm going to speak on different key points. I'm going to reference back to articles, different things, different articles that psychologists have actually written. There's actually studies on these, and but let's get into it. So soul ties are it's a very touchy topic. They don't believe in anything dealing with spirituality or mysticism or anything like that, but they do believe in sex. They do believe in sex. Sex is real. Sex is, it's a beautiful event, or it's a wonderful thing, and it's used to procreate. It's used for creation, reproduction, all of those things, and it is a tri-dimensional experience, which means that the spirit, soul, and body are all combined when sex is acted upon. Anytime you have sex with a person, you bond with them. And a well-known psychologist that I actually research often, Dr. Daniel Amen, writes in his book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And that is a quote from out of his book. And he also says, whenever a person is sexually involved with another person, neurochemical changes occur in both their brains that encourage limbic emotional bonding. And for those of you who don't know what limbic bonding is, it is the reason casual sex doesn't really work for most people on a whole mind and body level. Okay? So, just to get into that, two people may decide to have sex just for fun, or just for the fun of it, quote unquote, yet something is occurring on another level, and they might not have decided on that at all. Why? I mean, both you and your partner came together, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to have relations, it's going to be good, but we're not going to, no feelings can be established. And you hear that all the time. You hear it all the time. Men and women say it. Oh yeah, we're just going steady. We're just messing around. We're not in love. We shouldn't catch feelings, but that's something that you can't control, because sex intertwines the soul, the body, and the spirit. So moving forward, sex is enhancing an emotional bond between them, whether they know it or not. So whether if you didn't decide to have a connection with this person, or if you just wanted a one night stand or a fling, something within you, your soul connected with that other person's soul, and now you guys have become as one. That's why they say, well, it's in the Bible where you're not supposed to have relations before you get married, because when you get married to that one person, you want to make sure that they are indeed your soulmate, or they can better you as a person. They can make you stronger, just teach you, you guys can grow together. You don't want to have relations with someone to whom you aren't going to marry, because at the end of the day, you aren't going to marry them for a reason. There's a reason why you're not going to marry them. Maybe they have emotional issues, maybe they have insecurities, maybe they're jealous, which that goes into insecurities. Maybe they're violent. It's best to know all of these things and to really get to know a person on a deeper spiritual level before connecting with them on a physical level. In a lot of these situations, one person, often the woman, is bound to form an attachment and will be hurt when a casual affair ends. Okay? This is a very, very important key point, because now we're referencing, back to spiritual, the spiritual laws of it. Women, and I actually made a video about this before, women are not made to have more than one sexual partner. And I know a lot of you may disagree with me on this, but it is truth. Women are jewels. They are special. Why? Because they are the carriers of children. They have the womb. They're born with the womb, which is something that is so sacred, and it has to be treated as such. Okay? So you don't want, if you're a woman, you should respect your body, respect your spirit and your soul. You don't want to have any and everything, come into your womb and leaving all different types of evil there. And when I say evil, I mean when you have a soul tie, or when you have relations with someone, whether or not you agree with this, when a woman has sex with a man, that man's, whatever negativity or problems or issues that he has and that he's dealing with emotionally and spiritually, though, that will transfer over to you. It will transfer over to you. So if you ever have found yourself in a situation where you may have had 3 or 4 partners, sexual partners at a time, or maybe even just one, and all of a sudden you have these feelings or these thoughts, or your mood changes drastically, you don't know why. It's because whomever you had relations with, their insecurities, their feelings, all of those negativities have transferred over, that they have transferred into you. So now you're dealing with everything that they have to deal with on a daily basis. You may not have been a jealous person. You may not have been an angry person, but because you had relations with someone who had those attributes, now you've taken them on as well. Okay? So that's a key point. And that's really what I wanted to get out there, is that women, please listen. Love yourself, love your womb, love your body, treat your body as a temple, and it should not be shared with any and everyone just because you're feeling lonely, you have, you're horny, whatever it may be. It does not matter. It does not matter. because you're playing with the soul and the spirit when you just do it just because. The reason why it is usually the woman who is hurt the most is because the female limbic system is larger than the male. So men can have relations with women, 15, 17 different women at a time, and not have any type of emotional attachment to that woman. You know, they can have relations for hours and days and weeks on end with different partners, and it still doesn't affect them. Why? Because men are naturally, they're made to be able to, they're made with the mindset of desiring more than one partner. And that is a topic that I will make another video on later on, so stay tuned for that. But men are designed to naturally want and desire more than one woman. Even if they're married. So, but like I said, that's another topic, and we will get into that on another video. So just stay tuned for that. I know you guys are probably like, oh, what? No, what? But anyway, moving forward, when you think about sex, it's like gluing two pieces of wood together and the next day ripping them apart. Of course, wood from the opposite board remains on each board. Remember what I said about, the soul tie and how those attributes transfer, and those different personality traits transfer from one person to the other. That's what we're talking about here. A piece of your sex partner, the good, the bad, and the ugly, stays with you, okay? And vice versa. Women, you can have a negative attribute, a negative flaw, or, anything. And that will transfer over to the man. And a lot of times that's why when you do come in contact with a man who is probably angry or upset, or he's dealing with all of these things, is because he's had more than one partner, and the women that he was dealing with, or maybe even one of the women, one or two, had those attributes and it transferred over to him. And when you don't get rid of those soul ties, it could happen. I mean, they will stay there for the rest of your life. Okay? And you can only imagine what it looks like when you bond with multiple partners. You can only imagine. And I say this multiple times because I'm really trying to get this message through to you so that you can understand, so that you all can understand that this is no game, but this is happening often in the world. Okay? When you have an unhealthy soul tie, there are often ramifications of having partners that you create a lifelong bond with through a sexual encounter or encounters, okay? But with whom you only have a short-term relationship with. Now you're having relations with this person, trying to create a lifelong bond, but it's only short-term, It's short term. Either you guys fell out, you don't like each other anymore, whatever it may be. But the soul tie remains long after the relationship is over, leaving both sexual partners longing for wholeness. Now that is deep. Why is that deep? Because often you'll probably see on social media people expressing themselves on social media how they're so lonely. A lot of celebrities, porn stars, they have relations with all of these different people, but they're still desiring for love and, attachments and, friendships. Right? But they can't get that. Why? Because they're expecting something from nothing. I mean, that's really what it is. They're expecting something from nothing. So I'm going to go into the 3 reasons healthy soul ties take place. And the first one is that people are misinformed and therefore convinced that sex is strictly a single-dimensional physical act with no emotion or spiritual connections. Yet, after sex, they find themselves mysteriously longing for the person they might not even like. You have a fling with someone. You don't even like that person. But because you had a certain urge, you acted upon it, right? You don't talk to that person anymore. But now you have to text them. You have to call them. Hey, let's hang out. And that person may be, giving some pushback. Maybe giving some pushback. And you're like, huh? What? Yeah. These things happen. And I'm pretty sure all of you have dealt or are dealing with the same type of scenario. The second point is a person, usually the woman, gives him or herself sexually to someone expecting that the intensely intimate act of intercourse would create a bond that would lead to deeper levels of commitment in their relationship. But soon she discovers, and like I said, this can go back and forth. So she and he discovers that her sexual partner was taking advantage of him or her need for intimacy and used him or her vulnerability to get laid. And of course, this happens often. This happens more often than it needs to. This is why you have a lot of people who are like, fuck love, and I'm going to do my own thing, and all of these different things. And this is why this happens, because there's usually someone was taken advantage of. And of course, in doing this, it leads to a person being emotionally and spiritually bonded to somebody that they deeply resent. So you could, this even goes into someone you've had kids with, right? You've had kids with them, and it just didn't work out because you guys just could not get along. And you start to resent them, but you can't detach yourself from them because there's a soul tie there. It's an unhealthy soul tie that needs to be done away with. Okay? The third point is that two people who commit to marriage and therefore surmise that the covenant vows are only a formality. So they live together and enjoy a sexual relationship outside of a lifelong commitment. But later they decide, for whatever reason, they don't want to live in a covenant relationship and eventually break up. Okay? Like I said, this goes back to, maybe you've had kids with this person. You probably did live together, at some point in time. But because it wasn't meant for you guys to be together, it just didn't work. But because you guys have had relations and continuously had relations with each other, that soul tie has gotten stronger and stronger and stronger. Now you guys are just living in complete malice and, just ludicrousness and chaos, fighting all the time. Makeup sex that contributes to the unhealthy soul tie. In a lot of those cases, a lot of those scenarios that I've seen personally, they often do not end well. It's a nasty breakup. The kids are involved, sometimes it ends in violence as well, so we just want to stay away from that. A lot of the times they usually don't realize how deeply they have wounded each other as their soul ties are ripped apart, tearing the very fabric of their being in the separation. So, when you hear someone say, when I left him or her, a piece of me left with them. There's truth in that because of the soul tie that was created. A part of you lives in them. A part of them lives in you. Actually, scientifically, whenever a man has relations with a woman, even if it's with a condom, pieces of that man's DNA stays within that woman. So physically now, a piece of that person is with you. You see how deep all of these things go. It's deeper than just a one night stand or a fling or just feeling good. It's way deeper than that. Sex is a sacred act, and it should be treated with respect and care. And so we went into the three reasons why, and there are many other reasons, but I said three of them why they take place. So now we're going to go into this different signs. So I can go into I'm going to give you 7 signs that you have an unhealthy soul tie. So if you're listening, this is the part that I really want you to listen to, because you may be in a situation where you have an unhealthy soul tie, but you don't really know. So I'm going to help you identify that. So the first sign is that you are in a physically or an emotionally and or abusive relationship, but you feel, let's put emphasis on feel, you put feel, so we're dealing with emotion, so attached to them that you refuse to cut off the connection and set boundaries with them. Okay, so let's repeat that for those of you who didn't hear the first time. The first sign is that you are in a physical and or emotionally and or spiritually abusive relationship, but you feel so attached to them that you refuse to cut off the connection and set boundaries with them. You just let them do whatever they want to do because you feel that there's an attachment. You won't set a boundary. You won't set a boundary because you're so attached to them. You can't let them go. You can't give them a boundary because you love them so much. But it's not love. It's lust. It's a strong form of lust. Okay? The second sign is that you have left a like if you left a relationship maybe a long time ago, but you think about the other person obsessively. Basically, you can't get them out of your mind. Okay? So you hear people a lot say, the love of my life or my first love. That's a soul tie. That's an unhealthy soul tie. If you're in another relationship, if you've gotten rid of that unhealthy soul tie years ago, but you still think about them, not unhealthy soul tie, but if you have gotten rid of a relationship from years ago with an individual, but you still think about them today, and you're in a relationship, you're in a relationship with someone else, but you still think about that person, that means that you have an unhealthy soul tie and you need to rid of it. I'm going to go into how to rid these soul ties toward the end, but let's get into number 3. Whenever you do anything, make a decision, have a conversation with someone, etc., you feel, quote unquote, because we're talking about emotions right now, like this person is with you or watching you. Now that number 3 for me is when you should get out. You can't even have a conversation with someone without thinking that the person who your unhealthy soul tie is with is watching you. Okay, see, psychologically, you have to make sure your mind is clear when dealing with these things spiritually. So let's go into number 4. When you have sex with someone else, and like I said in the beginning, hopefully after hearing this, hopefully is with your husband or your wife. Okay, let's stop the chaos right here, right now. You can hardly keep yourself from visualizing the person that you have the soul tie with. So you can be having relations with your boyfriend, sorry, I had to stop myself. You could be having relations with your husband or your wife, and while you guys are having relations, you're visualizing the person whom you have an unhealthy soul tie with. So maybe an ex-boyfriend or an ex-husband you don't even see or talk to anymore, but yet you find yourself envisioning this person while you're having relations with your husband or your wife. That's a very big sign. Another sign is you take on the negative traits of the person that your soul is tied to, and you carry their offenses. Sorry, I'm tongue tied today. Whether or not you will actually agree with them. So, just to expound on that point, you could have taken on the trait of, of jealousy, right? You were never a jealous person, but after the soul tie was created with the jealous person, now you are a jealous person. Although you don't even agree with jealousy, you don't even have those. You had a certain level of confidence about you where you weren't jealous, but now you are. You see? So when you think about it, sex actually, depending on what type of person you're dealing with, it could actually mold you into something else, something you didn't even aspire to be. Let's go into the next point. You defend your right to stay in a relationship with the person that your soul tie is tied to, okay, even though it is negatively affecting or even destroying the important relationships in your life. Why do I see these things happen on a daily basis? I see them amongst my friends, amongst my family, and I'm pretty sure all of you have seen the same things. Or you could be the victim dealing with these things, right? So you could be in a relationship with an abusive partner, and your family sees it, your friends see it, your kids see it, but you're choosing to stay with that person because of that unhealthy soul tie. You just can't break away from them. And it's not because you don't want to leave them, it's because your soul is attached. Okay? So it goes deeper than just the surface. You're choosing to deal with that abuse. You're choosing to deal with the neglect because of that soul tie. Okay? So again, we have to put these things to an end. The last key point that I want to expound on is the fact that you have simultaneous experiences and or moods as the person your soul tie is tied to. Okay? And this can even include sickness, accidents, addictions, etc. It goes deep, and for those of you who do not know exactly what that means, by on taking on these sicknesses or accidents and addictions, that one person has, the one that you have a soul tie with, that means that basically, in a nutshell, this could be someone who you guys don't even talk anymore, but for some reason, when that person catches the flu or catches a cold, around the same time frame that they caught that cold or that flu or that sickness, you catch it, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh, hey, like, I just got over this cold recently, and then that person says, well, hey, I had a cold around the same time, and so like I said, it goes deeper than just the surface. Okay? And addictions, a lot of the times you see, like maybe on different shows on TLC, like Intervention, a lot of those drug addicts or crack addicts or whatever you want to associate them with, they often have partners. And because they are having relations with each other, they had an addiction and a problem beforehand, right? But that addiction or that problem or sickness actually had gotten worse once they had relations with someone who had the same addiction. it made that addiction stronger, versus when you have someone who may not even be addicted to drugs because they have had relations with someone who partakes in drugs and has an addiction to drugs. They then take on that same addiction and that same craving or want for that particular drug. So like I said, all of these things are spiritual. Everything that we do, every decision that we make, every thought that we think, everything that surrounds us is spiritual. We are in a spiritual war and a spiritual battle, and we must make sure that the things that we can control, we control them. Okay? Like the urges, control those, because you don't want to get in a situation where you're unhappy, you are miserable, you're lonely, and you don't have a great outlook on life. So let's just keep that in mind. Biblically, let's talk a little bit about the Bible. Biblically, I'm sorry, my tongue is tied today. I don't know why. Maybe it's this beautiful weather. But let's get into the scriptures, okay? So to better support the key points and to support this broadcast alone, speaking on soul ties, when you look at 1 Corinthians 6:15, it says, "Do you not know that the one who joins himself to a prostitute is one body with her? For he says, and I quote, 'The two shall become one flesh.'" And so let's get into what that means exactly. That means that if someone, and honestly, let's not be mythical. This does happen. A lot of people do pay for sex. They pay for sex, but of course, if you are the person who isn't paying for it and you just happen to have relations with someone who is unhealthy spiritually, you will take on those wicked attributes. You would take on all of those problems. And like I said, I keep repeating these things because it's very, very key to know all of these things. And I hope that you guys have taken something positive from this message. But all in all, whoever you have relations with, you become one with that person. Okay? You become one with that person. That's why I cannot stress enough, it is best that you wait. And I know a lot of you who are, of course, I'm pretty sure my audience is, of the older crowd. And, of course, we have all, had relations with different individuals. But moving forward, you must respect your body, respect your womb if you're a woman, respect your mind, your body, men, women, all of you. You have to respect yourself. And you have to respect your soul and your spirit, because your soul and your spirit suffers from the decisions that you make, whether you know it or not. And sex is one of those things where it's taken lightly. Often, like a lot of people, they use the word love so loosely. There's a deeper meaning to love, and that's why you shouldn't use it unless you truly mean it. Okay? And sex is the same way. Don't act on it. Don't participate if it's just for pleasure. Period. If it's just for pleasure, do not act upon it. Why? If you're solely going off of how the person looks, if you're not acting upon love at that point, when you're looking for pleasure, you're acting upon lust. And with lust and love, it's a thin line. It's definitely a thin line. So you have to know how to, decide between the two. Is this worth my soul? Is this worth my spirit? Is this worth my mind? Is this worth my sanity? But there is hope. There definitely is hope. So I'm going to get into how you can break these soul ties. Don't worry. For those of you who are in a unhealthy or are dealing with unhealthy soul ties and have unhealthy soul ties, you can never fall so far that you can't be restored. Okay, you can have a new life. A new life is available to you. And by doing what I'm telling you to do, you will restore the standard and you will live in freedom and hope again. And you will be happy. You will have peace. So the first thing that you need to do is to admit that you have a soul tie. Admit that there is a problem there, right? And when admitting that you have an unhealthy soul tie and you admit the problem, then we move on to finding the solution. So spiritually, you are connected with this person, right? I'm pretty sure that this person has either given you gifts. You probably have them in your phone as a contact. Delete them from out of your phone. Throw away any gifts that they have given you. Okay? Any type of material connection that you have with that person, you need to get rid of it. I don't care if it's a $10 million watch, $500,000 shirt, $20 pair of shoes, get rid of it. Throw it away. Burn it. I don't care what you have to do to get rid of it, but you need to get rid of it. It has no value. Is your soul worth more than those pair of shoes or that watch or that shirt? Okay? That's the second step. The third step is to ask for forgiveness. Ask the universe for forgiveness. Admit where you went wrong. Admit that you were acting upon lust and sexual desire and pleasure. Admit all of those things. Okay? Put that into the universe. And every single day, make sure you ask for forgiveness of that. And slowly but surely, that soul tie will begin to disappear. Okay? If you're thinking about that person constantly, that thought won't be in your mind anymore. It may try to enter into your mind, but then for somehow, some way, your thoughts quickly switch to something else. Okay? You could want to be around that person. You could you be around that person for long periods of time, or just be around them for a short period of time. But soon, once you keep, putting into the universe the forgiveness, and you admit where you went wrong as far as lust and how you do not want to have that soul tie with that person anymore, you won't desire to even send them a text message. You should have deleted them out of your phone, number one. So don't go searching for them on Facebook or on Instagram or Snapchat. Don't do that. Okay. Don't even torture yourself. But like I said, once you put in the universe that you want to rid yourself of this soul tie and you've gotten rid of all the material things, you won't even have the desire to search for them on Facebook or on all of the social media platforms. You won't even desire to send them a message on, social media or in your phone. You won't even have that desire. And then you look up, you've forgotten what this person even looks like, because that soul tie has been broken. Okay? But to make sure that you do not build any other unhealthy soul ties, you must make sure that from this day forward, you do not act upon any selfish sexual desires with another individual. I'm sorry, there's a plane crossing, flying over me. So if you guys hear that, if you guys hear it in the background, I do apologize. It's a huge plane. But I'm sorry, I digress. But make sure that you do not create any other soul ties. It would be ridiculous, and honestly, it would not be smart that for you to get rid of one or a few soul ties to just add on another one. It wouldn't make any sense. Okay? So now you're going back in the same cycle. Okay? So that's what we want to do. We want to stop the cycle. And last but not least, love yourself more. Practice self-care. Practice self-care and love yourself more to the point to where you do not even desire to share yourself with other people. Not saying that you won't have that desire, but let's say act upon that desire, right? If they're your husband or wife, that's different. But a regular random person, or even if you guys are dating, boyfriend and girlfriend, you need to wait. You need to figure that person out, feel them out before you share your body with them, because you are sacred. You are a creation that should be handled with care, right? Of course. I do appreciate you guys for listening. I hope this broadcast has helped you. I plan on making many, many more. Stay on the lookout. The link will be available to the YouTube channel in the description. Okay. Also, the links to my social media pages, they will also be available. And just click on those. Click on those so you can stay up to date with all of the content that I will be releasing. Because at the end of the day, these things are happening, but no one is speaking on them. We have to heal each other. Okay, we have to heal ourselves first, and then once that has happened, we have to heal each other. Okay? I do appreciate you guys listening to Planet Zandria. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more content that will be coming your way.